What's up, writers? Today, sixth graders, we are talking about the trail of research that we go down as researchers as we pursue topics that we are adopting, that we are taking on as our own. Let's check it out. So we're going to first take a look at a video by Jon Stewart that you may have already seen before, but if not, we're going to key in on something that happens in this conversation.
My guest tonight, she's an advocate for girls' access to education worldwide, is the youngest person ever to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Her new book is called I Am Malala, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. Please welcome to the program, Malala Yousafzai. Nice to see you.
We are human beings, and this is the part of our human nature, that we don't learn the importance of anything until it's snatched from our hands. And when in Pakistan, when we were stopped from going to school, at that time I realized that education is very important, and education is the power for women. And that's why the terrorists are afraid of education. They do not want women to get education, because then women would become more powerful.
Exactly right.
And other than that, our freedom was taken from us.
Yes.
The women's freedom. We could not go to market. We were not allowed to go to school. We were just kept imprisoned. We were just limited to the four walls of our house. Women's rights were denied at that time, and that's why I spoke. Because I believe in equality, and I believe that there is no difference between a man and a woman. I even believe that a woman is more powerful than men.
What? Wait, whoa, wait, what? What? Wait. You know, Malala, this was going so well. You were doing so beautifully, and then suddenly, bam!
When in 2012, I was with my father, and someone came and she told us that, have you seen on Google that if you search your name and the Taliban have threatened you? And I just could not believe it. I said, no, it's not true. And even after the threat, when we saw it, I was not worried about myself that much. I was worried about my father, because we thought that the Taliban are not that much cruel that they would kill a child, because I was 14 at that time. But then later on, I used to I started thinking about that, and I used to think that the Talib would come and he would just kill me. But then I said, if he comes, what would you do, Malala? Then I would reply myself that, Malala, just take a shoe and hit him. But then I said, if you hit a Talib with your shoe, then there would be no difference between you and that Talib. You must not treat others that much with cruelty and that much harshly. You must fight others, but through peace and through dialogue and through education. Then I said, I'll tell him how important education is, and that I even want education for your children as well. And I'll tell him, that's what I want to tell you. Now do what you want.
You know, I know your father is backstage, and he's very proud of you, but would he be mad if I adopted you? Because you sure are swell.
All right. So what I wanted us to get out of that is the idea that we need to take on these issues in the same way that Jon Stewart wanted to take on Malala. He wanted to adopt her. He wanted her to be like a part of his family. He wanted to absolutely be like a hound dog where they're following the trail. And that's how a researcher is. Now, we're not going to adopt a child, but we are going to eventually want to adopt these specific topics within teen activism. Just one of them, though. And it's going to be one that you are super passionate about, because I know that you're already passionate about some of them. Once we have our topic in mind, we're going to need to go through the process that we had really the beginning of our unit. And that was that we went down a trail of research. We, as a researcher, asked the question, what about this topic is important? So we thought about teen activism, and I bet the first thing we thought was like, okay, what is teen activism? We probably defined it. If I asked you what was important about teen activism when we started, you probably would have said, well, teen activists are people who find problems in the world and try to solve them. I said, okay, so what was important then about knowing that definition then as far as what we went to next? Like, how did that inform us about where we went to? Well, we went to Malala next. That was one of the most important things about teen activism because she's one of the most like front and center, popular, famous. She has a book that a lot of people have read about her. So that was the next step. Malala. Remember, we're asking the question, what is most important about this topic? So then what was most important about Malala? Well, we probably thought she was shot in the head and could have died. I said, yeah, but like, why? Not that it's okay, but it's not uncommon that people could get shot. What makes Malala getting shot so important and special? Well, she got shot because she was standing up for what she believed in. And she believed in this problem that was going on. She believed that girls around the world being denied an education was an issue that she wanted to tackle. The next step then is asking, what about that is so important? Like, what's our next step? Our next step was that people were actually supporting providing girls globally with an education. So we found the solution. So essentially we started with teen activism and said, what's important? Malala. That's like how we got into it. The next step was, what's the problem then she's trying to solve? And then how is she trying to solve it? And so you're going to do the same thing with your own topics. You are going to end up being in coalition groups where you are all on the same topic together. You're going to be co-researchers. What that means is this. You're going to actually look at information together. You could be reading them on your own, but you might come back and say, hey, guess what? This is what I found out. By the way, apologies if you heard all that noise. Someone came into my room. My room was even locked. I guess I need a recording sign. Anyways, you are going to be able to help each other with research as much as possible, but you still are going to make your own website. And you're still, most importantly, going to be following your own trail of research. So the topics that you could choose from are girls' education, child labor, saving the environment, bullying, and pet abandonment. Wow, those are all really interesting topics. I know that a lot of you have heard them before. However, I also know that the idea of teen activism and activism in general, people assume that's a bad thing. Really? Trying to help people not be bullied? That's a bad thing? Okay. Really trying to protect kids from being forced to work in unsafe conditions? That's a bad thing? Okay. I mean, I could go on and we could look at all of these and say, really, you think that being an activist to help pets not be thrown in the gutter and then eventually be sent to a kill shelter and die, that's not a bad thing? I mean, you think that is? Oh. Well, hey, so the point is, these topics are not controversial. These topics, as they relate to teen activism, are not controversial. But I bet that all of you are very passionate about one of them. So, in your slides that you have, you can click this red button at the top and it'll take you to all of the text sets that we have for each topic. In addition, once you've taken notes on those, you can move on to adding to your trail of research based upon your own searching. What we should end up with in our journal is something that looks like this. So you could do by hand and take a picture of it and put it in there. You could use your Google Jamboard, Google Slides. You could use any sort of digital tool you want to in order to make something that looks like this, because we want to track where we're going, what we're finding out, and notice how immediately this person under the abandoned pets subtopic they found that there's two really easy ways to break it apart, and that there's different kinds of shelters. One where those shelters kill animals if they're not adopted after a certain amount of time, and other shelters where they don't kill them and they have other ways that they can help animals find homes. Okay. We should be reading lots of articles from our tech set, sharing those with our coalition groups and our thoughts about them. And the next time I see you, we should all have these trails of research ready to go. And until I see you next time, happy writing.